Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and look, no more transfers. Highly unlikely Manchester United will make any more transfers in these last couple of days of the transfer window is the breaking news. We're going to be doing a call-in. We take any opinion. We don't cut people off just because they're not happy with what the club are doing, and we certainly don't suggest bringing Luis Suarez back to the club, none of that. But in all seriousness, look, the situation at Manchester United is somewhat tense at the moment, and we will be getting into that. Lots of things I want to talk about, and then we'll start taking some of your calls. I also want to just say as well, Thursday night is the end of the transfer window. We are doing a United Stand get-together on Thursday the 8th of August, on Thursday night. After the transfer window closes, a few drinks, a live show in front of 300 people. We've still got tickets for it. If you want to come down, links in the video description. You can get a couple of tickets, come down and see us. It's going to be a really good night, and I think it's going to be a very interesting sort of, we'll be taking questions from the floor and all that jazz. Oh, and if you want to get United Stand t-shirts and stuff, you can get them in the video description, and we'll be happy to sign them for you if that's what you are all about. But let's just fly into this then. So, the situation with Manchester United at this moment in time is that James Cooper, who works for Sky Sports, has been on Sky Sports this afternoon and said it's very unlikely that Manchester United will make any further signings. How does that make you feel? We're going to be taking some of your calls. You might want to talk about that. But what I would say is, it does annoy me a little bit when people start saying James Cooper's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's on about. Simon Stone's full of shit. You know, these are not... I've been doing this for I've been supporting United a lot longer than I've been doing the United Stand, but I've been doing United Stand for a number of years, and I can tell you, there are people I listen to, and there are people I half listen to, and there are people I totally ignore. James Cooper, Simon Stone are not people I totally ignore. I think they are very credible journalists, and they may be saying things we don't want to hear, but it's who's telling those people those things that you need to register in your brain. James Cooper won't have just gone on Sky Sports and thought, I'm going to upset the whole United fan base, who I basically work for because he's Manchester United's correspondent for Sky Sports. He's been given that information. So United highly unlikely to do any more transfers. You've got to take it as there might be something in that. In fact, there probably is. And it's not very nice, is it? It's not a very, very nice feeling at all, because I think we've been in this situation for so long over the last few years where, you know, we think we're going to have this great transfer window. S. Razul says, thoughts on cancel MUTV trending. I'm not going to cancel MUTV. I like the press conferences. I like the pre-season tour. But if people want to do it, it's all about... to be honest with you, I've not really thought it through. If people want to do it, that's up to them. But, you know, a lot of things trend, don't they? Maybe somebody might want to phone in and say that, because on our call-in, people can do it. But let's get back to the transfer thing. I just think that there is an echo, and it's not my recording system. There is an echo at Manchester United around what happens every single year, it feels like. Even back, and I said this to somebody today, it's not about the last 6 years. This was the same under Sir Alex Ferguson. When's Vidal coming? Maybe we'll do it on the last day. Maybe we'll do it on the last week, and we never did. I think there is a common occurrence with this ownership of Manchester United where you get sold a lie all summer and then it doesn't materialise. And I've had people saying to me today, how can you be so spoilt? You've just spent £80 million on a centre-back, £50 million on a right-back, and you're moaning about not getting the transfers in. And you know what my reply to them is? Don't stick your nose in a beehive unless you want to get stung. Like, if you don't know the situation, don't be an outsider gobbing off, because the situation at Manchester United is understood by Manchester United fans. And if it's a very literal interpretation to go, oh, look at these spoilt United fans who they've got a centre-back and a right-back and they're moaning. We are, I don't know whether people remember this, but we are 6th in the Premier League last season. We are not a very good team, and we are in the Europa League because of it. We needed a massive rebuild. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer basically took Manchester United over last December at its lowest point. We appointed one of the world's best managers and he failed. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in, steadied the ship and was given the job long term. But we all knew in December it was about getting to the summer and then major investment. And we've not seen that major investment. I don't agree that Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James, £150 million, I don't agree that that's major investment. I agree it's investment, but what people are not considering here is it only takes Lukaku being sold for our net spend to halve to about 70 million. That's all it's going to take. And let's not forget, Darmian will be sold and maybe another centre-back. So that net spend very quickly, because remember, some of these players are going abroad, so they won't be sold till after the transfer window's closed for us. They'll be sold in August. And that 150 will come down very, very, very quickly. Also, most Manchester United fans know we needed to spend north of 200 million. But the worst thing of all for me is that, yes, Harry Maguire's very good. Wan-Bissaka's very good. I applaud these signings. They are what we needed to do. But, and it's a big but, it's Kim Kardashian. This is not acceptable for Manchester United to come out of a transfer window without a midfielder. And I cannot, if someone wants to call in and say you're being spoiled, you're acting really negative, Mark, love it. Come on, tell me that. But I will not back down on this because it's not on a whim. We've been talking about this since January. When Herrera, Matic and Pogba were playing really well, we were all still saying, let's get to the summer and add a quality midfielder to that three and we've got something to build on. We've lost Herrera, Matic has got worse, Pogba is unsettled and we've not bought one midfielder. It's not acceptable. It is not acceptable and I will not accept it. And people can tell me I'm wrong because that is their opinion and that is their right. But do not tell me I'm spoiled and do not tell me I'm negative for looking at something that is statistically proven in front of us over the last 6 to 8 months that our midfield is weak and it's now even weaker without Herrera. And we're sat there going, well, we've bought Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. Get a bloody midfielder in. It's not a joke. Get a midfielder in. We've had a few super chaps coming in. Do you think we're saving Dave's contract renewal till the end of the window to try and soften the blow if we don't sign anyone? If we announce David De Gea in the next 2 or 3 days before the transfer window closes, that to me will be a big sign that we're not signing anybody. And it's a usual tactic from this club. We did it with Martial in the January transfer window. A lot of people, myself included, said we should have used that January transfer window. What did we do? We announced Martial right in a transfer window. So everyone goes, oh, it's like a new signing. It's not like a new signing because it's not a new signing. It's called a contract renewal because it's a contract renewal. It's not a new signing. Alex Martin says, I love my club, but I can't help but feel disappointed with this transfer window. I'm still praying we get Bruno, but I can't see it. Jarrett Wayesel says, what can we do to change this? We got the money, but they don't listen to the fans or anyone with a brain. Matt Rush says, Mark, I'm sick of people being happy with our business. Can't stress enough we will struggle with no new midfielders. Club has mugged us again. It's a disgrace. Justice O, happy about Maguire, but it has been a disgrace how long it took. Everybody knew we were after that. What the hell took so long? Football director now. And we've got a new member, which is William Dominguez. And Maguire is a waste of money, says Zine Massa. I think Maguire is a very, very good signing for Manchester United. A very good signing indeed. But I do think that it comes down to money. It comes down to money with this football club. We are owned by people who don't support the club. They don't support the club. They never did support the club. They bought it on debt. They saw a cash cow and they did a great job. They don't support this club. And if they did, and if they really were interested in what's going on in the field, we would have a midfielder. They've done a half a job. They've built a very good defence, but they've neglected everywhere else. And I want to be proven wrong on that. I want us to do better. I want us to, a lot of people are still positive and they're still saying let's judge it on August the 9th. And I agree, we still can do some business. We still can have a positive net spend. But you know what? For those people who are worried like me or are convinced it's going to go wrong, like some people are, they have the proof over the last 6 years of how these things happen. Nick P says, Mark, I feel like it's Christmas 1989 again. I got a remote control. I had to share remote with my brother and told I was ungrateful for wanting more. And Demoy Verman says, now that we're done with transfers, it's time for certain players to step the hell up or sit down. The whole team has a major season ahead. I agree with you on that, but we shouldn't be in that position. I feel it's a mentality. I put a tweet out today and people disagreed. I think Everton have had a better transfer window for the last 2 transfer windows. I just think their bigger squad's not as good as ours, but the way they address their issues, I mean, they're after Decore now. They've lost to Disagree, but they're after Decore. They've brought Moise Keane in, who I think is a good centre forward. They're addressing their issues. Manchester United aren't addressing their issues. All they're doing is, let's hope this midfield's good enough. Let's hope this front three are good enough. Let's retain Deadwood. Let's build a good back four, but not build a midfield. It's half a job. We should be called Arthur. Half a job. Sage the Vlogger says, I've seen a couple of rumours about Eriksen considering a move to United. If we don't get a midfielder, we really need to give McTominay a full go at it. I think Scott McTominay will definitely be given a full go at it anyway. I think he really, really will. But it's whether what I would say is, as well, is injuries and suspensions do happen. What if Scott McTominay and Paul Pogba get injured? Seriously, it can happen. You saw it with Leroy Sané yesterday. It can happen. And you know, it possibly could happen. I mean, what are we going to see? Are we going to see Phil Jones playing as a midfielder? I mean, it's elastoplast football, paper in the cracks. Love the channel, Mark. Can't fix everything in one window, though. I'm still disappointed. However, at least one more signing and I would be content, says Ishak Baig. And welcome to the Drunk Monkey Show. He's the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Remember, you can click the join button and join. Thank you for that. Please do smash a like on the video and make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new. I disagree with that comment, though. I've seen this a lot. You can't fix it all in one transfer window. I respect it, and I think it comes from the positivity brigade, who I've got nothing against, because everybody's an individual and everyone's got an opinion. But I don't agree with we can't fix it all in one window. I think you're falling into the propaganda trap there. We can't fix it all in one window, because if we were going to fix it all in one window, we would have sold 11 players and bought 11 players, because I don't trust them players. Most of them don't deserve to be here. But there was an acceptance at the start of the summer. We'd only sell 4 and we'd probably only sign 4 or 5. I accept that. But we've only bought 3 players. Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James and Maguire. We needed to at least sign 4 or 5. So, yes, we couldn't do everything in one window, but it was meant to be 4 or 5 this summer and 4 or 5 next summer. We've done 3. That's not acceptable. We should have signed 4 or 5 players this summer and then 4 or 5 next year. So I agree it was never going to be done in one window, but we haven't done enough in this window. Like, you can't just buy 2 top quality defenders and neglect your midfield. It's not like a bloody computer game. This isn't FIFA. This is real life. This is Manchester United fans spending real money watching that team all around Europe and all around England till next May, and they're sending a car out with 3 wheels. Some would say 2. But they're sending a car out that's not fit for a race. And that's not acceptable from an ownership point of view. All because they want to keep a bit more money in their pocket. And what baffles me the most about this with Manchester United, because I need to start taking some calls, what baffles me the most is every season we've been in the Europa League, we've spent big money because they shit themselves and think we can't have another year not in the Europa League. We've got to get in the Champions League. So they spent big. Mourinho's first season, Van Gaal's first season, they spent big. They haven't done it this year. Yeah, Harry Maguire's 80 million and Wan-Bissaka's 50 million, but it's 2 players. You can't. Yeah, you've spent well on those, but where's your midfield? Like, I will sit here now. Well, I'll do it on Friday when we know for sure. But if it's Friday morning now, I will sit there on my Premier League prediction show for the United Stand and where United are going to finish with all you lot live, and I will say, as we are now, if the team is the same as it is now on Friday, I will say we are going to finish 5th, and if we get 4th. Ollie deserves Manager of the Year. Because I said it with Emery last year. I could already see Emery's a good manager, but the squad wasn't good enough for Arsenal. And he nearly did it, but they didn't. And this United squad is not good enough to get 4th place. We might do it, but I'm not going to predict it, because if Ollie does it, he deserves Manager of the Year. I don't care if Pep wins everything. He can win the Champions League, the Premier League, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Community Shield, the Grand National, the Ashes. He can win all of it. But I'll still give it to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if he gets 4th place next season with that squad he's got today. Because I don't see it. I really don't. I can see the weaknesses. You can see the bottlers in that team. They might have 5 or 6 good games, but they'll have 5 or 6 bad games as well. And that's sad, isn't it? To go into a season totally. And I always said this as well. I said it a year ago. Don't let Mourinho lower your expectations. Manchester United should always be a team that you're expecting to be in a title race. How wrong I was. They've lowered our expectations to the basement, haven't they? Because I don't expect us to finish 4th next season at the moment, unless we get a midfielder in. And the club need to open their ears to that, because if we're in the Europa League again next year, all the sponsors drop. So it's baffling anyway. Are they just trying to sell the club? They don't want to invest in it anymore? Or are they that thick that they don't realise if they don't buy a midfielder, they're probably not going to get in the top 4, so we'll be back in the Europa League and you're going to lose the 60 million it's going to cost to buy Bruno Fernandes today. They're going to lose next summer from the sponsors when we're in the Europa League for another year. It is baffling and it doesn't make any business sense, to be honest with you. But we will see. There is still time and there are still people positive. The club just doesn't need a new midfielder or 2. We need a 20+ a goal season striker, says TikTok. Well, you know, you might be right with that. You might be right with that as well. Ed Woodward is running the club like how Donald Trump runs America. Absolute disgrace. I would like us to at least try to act like a club of significance and with honour. The only milk is dry for money. And welcome to Mikael Thomas Christensen, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. What I would say about that is, and look, Ed Woodward is the front for a lot of the blame, isn't he? And in some ways I understand it, but he is an employee of the Glazers. If the Glazer had said on May the 15th when the transfer window opens, there's £350 million, go and spend it, Ed Woodward's not going to put 200 in his back pocket and say I'm only spending 150. whatever you think about Ed Woodward, and maybe he is a bit of a puppet to the Glazers, and maybe all he's bothered about is massaging their egos. The point is, he spends what he is given. And that is a given, isn't it? He spends what he's given. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But, look, I want to start taking some of your calls. Lukaku is going to be gone, isn't he? He's effectively off to Anderlecht. Another thing I was going to say as well is, let me just get... Hello, can you hear me, Draughty? I've just pulled you in, not off.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, don't pull me off. That's not good. So.
Okay, so we're just talking there. I'm sure you're all listening to what we're on about. I mean, look, the situation at Manchester United, we've just had a super chat here from Thomas Morehouse, who says, judge it on August the 31st. Our net spend will be 50 million again, worse than most relegation-threatened sides. Ed Woodward has a hangover year around. We wanted a centre-back last summer. We got him now that we need a midfielder. He won't even realise it till the end of next season. We always seem to miss something. Sonny B says, hi Mark, bit off topic, but remember me saying last season in regards to a £20 bet I had that you'll have more subscribers at the start of the season than a certain crap channel. You're nearly there, mate. AFTV next. Thanks, mate. And George, you know, when you read a comment, you think, yeah, but it is a super chat. I've got to read it. I wouldn't normally. George Ramos says, isn't any more coming in? If not, do you think maybe a miracle right might happen in the next few days? Also, if you don't trust these players, there's no point in us including yourself watching Manchester United this season. I mean, no, George, come on. Look, I don't care if we get relegated. I'll still watch United. I'm not going to pretend it's going to be a joyful event, but I still will watch them because that's what support is. Otherwise, you're a Man City supporter. They used to spell Chelsea. It went wrong. They supported Man City. But let me get you on there, Droy. Are we going to make... I mean, Kevin Mitchell says, surely we must have more coming in. Where do you sit on this Monday night? Do you think we are going to make some more signings before Thursday?
Well, put it this way. I mean, we've just spent 130 million, 132 defenders, which is a big chunk of money to put out on the defence. And I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of rival fans jumping on that fact, but it is the crazy market we're currently in. Do I think we're going to get anyone else in? We've got, 3 days to get some deals done now? Yeah. That's not a lot of time. Lukaku could be leaving at any point in time because he's obviously training with Anderlecht. So, again, we're not going to get a replacement for him done in time. I don't think... I mean, if anyone's going to come in, I would have hoped it was Bruno Fernandes. You've been saying to me since March, Bruno Fernandes is the target. So I'm a little bit worried that right now we're going to go into the season with the same midfield as last year. And if that's the case, well, our front line, minus Lukaku, has got a few problems because where's the delivery going to come from? Pogba can't do it all by himself. We've just lost Ander Herrera as well. So you already had to replace Herrera. We already knew we needed a midfielder next to Pogba to support him anyway. That's 2. And we haven't signed any. So, and the Deadwood's still there. So it's not looking too good at the moment. And I don't think the club want to spend that much more money. I think for them, including Daniel James, 148 million outlay at the moment. If we get anything back for Lukaku, well, that's 75 million net spend for this year. Is it good enough?
No. Well, it's not good enough, is it? Because actually, you know, people might say, well, profit lines, this, that and the other. But the point is, we'll be outspent by Villa. You know, if Villa can spend 100 million, United can spend 2 net, and they're not doing that. I've just got some super chats to read. Jacob Hurley says, Mark, the event's on Thursday. I want to attend, but no information on if there is wheelchair access. Please could you confirm before I book travel. I will let you know tomorrow night, Jacob. I'll have to check that out. Jordan Such, if Pogba stays, it's unlikely he's going to play all 38 league games regardless. Yeah, you're right. He always gets injured. He always misses a month because of hamstring issues. And I will come back to that. I wanted to ask Strawty about that. And Jeff Christensen says, with our current midfield, we will be fighting for a mid-table finish. Well, that is a follow on what I was going to say there. I said today, I don't like saying it, and people say it's negative, but if Paul Pogba gets injured, or potential, Matic is crap, Fred, we just don't know. But even if they all play to their potential, I don't think that midfield is any better than a Watford midfield. I don't. I think Pogba is the player that gives us that quality, and he's been very inconsistent. So I'm not being sensationalist here. I really keep going on about the mint with a hole, because that midfield is... I don't rate it, and I don't see any... It's not like the attack where Gomez, Greenwood or Chong could just come through and be amazing. There is no youth player. Garner is not... he's good, but I don't think he's going to come in, and not at that age, 18. You don't get
what about
many
Angel
midfielders
Gomez,
doing
though?
that.
Angel Gomez.
Yeah, he's not a centre midfielder, is he?
He's not a centre midfielder, but he is an attacking sort of creative player who can make things happen. But at the moment, you lose Pogba, we are one injury away from a crisis.
Mm.
Imagine if he suddenly, I would never wish any injury on a player, but if you suddenly lost Pogba for any length in time, you were then down to Nemanja Matic, McSauce, Fred, Pereira, or Mata, and I'm probably missing someone. We just haven't got enough depth. We lose Pogba, we are in serious trouble. But the only thing I would say is, if you look at it, last season was the worst defensive record in the league since 1978-79 for United.
Yeah.
So, I can understand them going, okay, well, you can only maybe fix one area. What area is it? Ashley Young was a problem at right back. We have not had a decent right back, even a world-class right back, since the days of Gary Neville, which is a long time to go without a really decent fullback. So straight away, Wan-Bissaka in there, that problem's fixed. Lindelof, we know he's a great centre-back. He's only going to get better with time playing in the United side. We had to get a centre-back in. They've got Harry Maguire. All of a sudden, your back four plus your keeper is very solid. Other teams will look at us now, and now we've got a strong defensive unit, which is brilliant.
But on that, though, I mean, I understand that, but just while you're saying that, it occurred to me that, we've bought a right back and we've bought a centre back and they're brilliant. And then we've left the midfield still as shit as it was before. Surely, if we bought the centre back and one midfielder, you half fix your defence and you half fix your midfield, and there's more balance, there's more synergy. It's a bit like an ugly bloke with a small willy, right? And he goes to he's only got £1 million to spend, and the surgeon.
Are you talking about me again?
You're talking about you. And the surgeon says, right, you've got a 1-inch willy. I can give you 4 inches to get you up to 5, which it makes it, workable. And I can fix your nose and your mouth, and you'll look, okay. Or I can fix your whole face, but then when they go downstairs, you've got a maggot knob. Or I can give you a 12-inch willy, but you're going to be ugly and you're not going to pull anyway. It's about balance. And I think that, to me, is the confusing thing. We've got a brilliant defence now, an absolutely brilliant defence. But what are we going to do? Try and win every game by just scamming a goal here and then having a clean sheet? You've got to have... I wouldn't want to give Wan-Bissaka or Maguire up for anybody. But we could have bought Maguire and put Dalot at right back and got Wan-Bissaka next year. Or we could have bought Wan-Bissaka and put Smalling at centre back. And then we've got a midfielder. I think, personally, this is not the plan. This was not the plan. The plan was Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes. And the Bruno Fernandes deal is not going to happen because of the Perisic thing 2 years ago, where Ollie wants him, but the board are like, no, we're not going to we're not spending 60 million on Ollie. We're not going to do it. And I think that's what it is, because I can't for 1 minute believe the plan was just to fix the whole defence and leave the midfield exposed.
If you think about it, though, had we not got Harry Maguire and we got Bruno Fernandes, Wan-Bissaka is amazing. He's brilliant. But you're then going back into the season with the Choco Brothers and Tuanzebe. I love Tuanzebe, but he's not experienced enough to be straight in there. So do you not think that actually having someone come in like Harry Maguire is slightly more important than... If you had to choose between Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire, who do you go for?
If I had the personal choice to make, and I need to do some super chats, I would go... if I could only have either out of these 3 players, Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes or Harry Maguire, and could only have 2, I would have got Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes. I love Wan-Bissaka, but you could have played Dalot and got him next year, and then you would have had a midfield and a centre-back sorted out. I don't want us not to sign Wan-Bissaka, but I would have gone with the balance of getting a midfielder and a centre-back. I think they were the priority positions for me.
But sometimes you have to buy a player because one of your rivals is going to go after him. If we hadn't gone again, for Wan-Bissaka now, someone else would have come in for him. Whether it was Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal. Arsenal seem to have money now, amazingly. I think he's one of those players where you had to get him. If you really want the top class players, you had to go and get him. And he's already Premier League proven, whereas Bruno Fernandes isn't Premier League proven. I know it's a completely different position. But maybe to the board and maybe some weird logical thinking, they're thinking, do you know what? He might still be a risk. As much as he's been fantastic in Portugal, it is only Portugal. And we've seen players play in the Portugal League, leagues before and go elsewhere in Europe and struggle. So, and to be fair, before this season, Bruno Fernandes was on the radar of no one. So, again, it's one of those, he's come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, he's flavour of the month. And it's, yes, we got to have him. But maybe, I don't know this, maybe their scouting system said, maybe he's just had a one-season wonder. You don't know. You don't know what's going on. But I think it is criminal that United just haven't gotten a midfielder. And I think there's too much pressure on Pogba now to pull a rabbit out of his hat. So
An unsettled one.
That's disappointing for me.
All right, mate. Well, look, I could talk to you all night, but it's only fair to try and get some other callers on. So I appreciate you coming on, mate, and we'll speak to you later in the week.
Will do. Hopefully no more talk about Willies.
No.
So, thanks.
Yeah, sorry about that. I wasn't talking about you. I'll speak to you in a minute, mate.
See you later, man.
Bye. Okay, so let's do some super chats, then we'll take another call. Why don't you get Ty and Claude on as guests, says Zayn Messé? Because it's not United, it's United Stand, it's not Arsenal Fan TV. Corey Lineker says it's time. Leverage the United Stand platform to fight the soul of our club. Hashtag Glazers out. A lot of people say that. I'm happy to have that discussion after the transfer window's closed, but I don't really know what people think we can do that didn't happen with the Golden Green Brigade however many years ago. So Jeff Christensen says you only need to look at how they run their NFL teams to see that the Glazers don't care about how the fans feel. Look, the Glazer out thing should not be focused around a bad transfer window. I've said this so many times. Or a bad football season. It should, if you're Glazers out, you should have been Glazers out when we won the Champions League in 2008 because they were in charge there. For me, I don't want the Glazers in charge of our football club because they don't support our football club. But they didn't support our football club when they bought us. They bought us on debt, they're businessmen, and they've sucked a lot of money out. As much as I don't like Man City, they're very rich businessmen who've just poured money in because they want that club to be number one. And they're prepared to lose a lot of money over 10 years to start making it back after 10 years, but be established as the number one. We were number one when the Glazers bought us, and they're not bothered about being number one. They just want us to make money. And that's it in a sentence. Simple as. Sean Turner, why are we going into a season talking about players having potential? We are United. We need proven players. Midfield is championship level. I agree with you on that one. And Milverton Richards says, if we don't sign midfielders, we will overwork the defence and they will end up either injured or frustrated, leading to them playing bad football. Yep. I agree with that. I do. I think that that is an issue with Manchester United, pure and simple every time. That, doesn't matter how good your defence is, people in front of you have got to do a good job. And look, as I was saying to Drawty there, it's great to have Paul Pogba involved, but does he want to be here? I don't know. Hello, can you hear me? You're live on the United Stand.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm doing well.
What do you want to talk about, pal?
I want to talk about Harry Maguire. And let me first start off by saying that I think Harry Maguire is massively important for this rebuild. I think that he's the center back we need, a Premier League proven center back who's going to help us from set pieces and corners. But the more I thought about it, the more I just slowly began to progressively shake my head. The point of building a defense is not so that teams can just run at your defense and attack it all game and bypass the midfield. We built this defense, yes, but it's fairly inconsequential to build a defense if you're not going to be able to protect it, because teams are eventually going to score against you, and our midfield is not set up in a way to protect that defense. So eventually we're going to concede.
Yeah. I just said it before you came on. Doesn't matter how good the defence is. If you've got Man City, Liverpool, Spurs bypassing your midfield with runners, doesn't matter how good Harry Maguire is, Lindelof is, Wan-Bissaka is, picking up runners is very difficult. That's what midfielders track runners for. So, we can have this titanium defence, but if the midfield is like Matic, who loses his runner all the time, and let's not forget, people can shoot before they get to the defence as well. So, we will still concede goals next season, and we will still lose games if we don't invest in the midfield. And I'm not convinced we will. I mean, for those joining us a little bit late, very unlikely that Manchester United will make any more signings. That's coming from Sky Sports' James Cooper, who's a Manchester United correspondent. Do you believe that? Do you think we will make any signings, and if so, who?
I don't believe we're going to make any signings. And the main reason I don't believe we're going to make any signings is because the club has shown that it takes them centuries to get deals done. And if it's going to take you that long to get deals done, then I'm not going to believe that you're going to get a solid deal done in the next 3 to 4 days. And a panic buy for Sean Longstaff is not the answer if Newcastle's even going to sell that player. The best bet was Bruno Fernandes. But there are two points of view that I'm hearing on this, and I'm not sure which one is correct. One point of view that I'm hearing is that we just don't want to spend the money for him, which is utterly ridiculous if you consider the fact that a team such as Spurs or Liverpool can come and pick a player like him up and instantly get stronger. The point was to be challenging a team like Spurs for third or fourth place by picking up the requisite midfielders to be strong. But if they get him, rest in peace. What are we going to do? And then the other point of view that I'm hearing is that Ollie wasn't nearly as interested in him as we were led to believe, and that the reports from mostly being fed out of Portugal by the Portuguese media. Now, I hesitate to believe this because, as you've pointed out before, the club were in for them, and I completely believe you. You know, you have no reason to lie.
I must just jump in there because there will be people saying, "Oh, why should we believe Goldbridge?" But we had Simon Peach on being interviewed by Flex when he was in Australia, and Simon Peach works for the Press Association, and he is a credible Tier 1 journalist. So if people don't want to believe what I and others have said, he said Manchester United like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I'm 50-50 that they'll sign him 5 weeks ago. So look, I think some people want to believe we were never interested in him. That is what I'm saying is not the truth. We have been interested in him. I hope we still are. But this nonsense thing's being fed out that he's never been on the list. It is nonsense. It
is nonsense then. But, you know, that really puts more pressure on the club. I have to say, if you've had question marks about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer before, and you thought, not you specifically, but just people in general, and you thought, well, this manager's not good enough, he doesn't have the tactical nous to compete with Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp, then you really have to take the pressure off Ollie. I can't look at Ollie this season if we don't get a midfielder. No. I can't look at him and say, well, this is all your fault. You're supposed to get these players playing at the highest level. Why are these players struggling? Because we've seen what these players are.
Yeah.
And
he's been ultimately it's a bit like Mourinho last year. It's a bit like Van Gaal and Moyes. They're being sent out to do a job against very, very competent managers and clubs, like you mentioned, Liverpool and Man City. But he's been sent out without the tools to fight them, really. So it's hard to... They're setting him up to fail, effectively, so they can keep a bit of money in the back pocket.
Exactly. They're setting the manager up to fail. And, you know, the sad thing about it, I was talking about this in the call-in queue. I was saying, if Ollie gets blamed for this, which I suspect he will, you know, they're also going to look at players like Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial, who many people say, oh, these players just aren't good enough. Well, what support are they getting from that midfield? You know, what chances are created for them to be able to go on and score these goals? And let's face it, these two players especially are going to be under a ton of pressure. If we're going to compete for top four, they've got to put in at least 15 to 20 goals. That has to happen because you're looking at players like Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah. They're doing that, and that's the difference. If we're going to reach that level, those players have to have that support. Ollie's not getting the support. Our front three's not getting the support. And those players get scapegoated, and Ollie's going to get scapegoated. Oh, it's not good enough. If Ollie ultimately fails, what are we going to say? You know, what do we say? We can say nothing, but the board didn't support him. And I understand some people will make the argument, well, you know, we might be waiting until the January transfer window, or we might be waiting until next season to get these players in. Maybe we'll focus on the midfield next season. Okay, but yeah, City and Liverpool aren't going to wait around for us to do that. Tottenham's not going to wait around for us to do that. Those teams are going to strengthen now. And by the time we address our needs, those teams will have already stacked depth. So now, yay, you know, we finally got those players in, but we're still outmatched. I was talking in the calling queue tactically about us pressing, and a lot of people, you know, they were saying, "Oh, well, we're finally pressing, and it's good to see this." And I'm thinking, yeah, but that's a prerequisite at this point. Every team that's going to be competitive is expected to press in the Premier League now. That's something you have to do. We're seeing it now, and it's not something that we saw under Mourinho. But us pressing isn't going to make the difference. The little signs we're seeing from Ollie is just a small step in the right direction. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's just so much work to be done, and we need to accelerate the process. We can't keep taking our time here. We need to get that midfielder in. We can't wait anymore.
Bob, fantastic call. Please do call in again.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, mate. Really good call. Lots of relevant points there. We're going to take another call in a minute, but there was a comment here from Ruth Mayers saying 8 weeks to do 2 signings is a joke. It is, especially when you think about the amount of time that we had and what needed to be done. I mean, look, I've seen a few people talking about Brexit FC. There's a few super chats I need to read out. I will go through them in a moment as well. But with regards to Brexit FC, I've got to agree with this. I was thinking about this today, and I would have forgotten about it if I hadn't seen it. And I also want to tell you something about Dybala. But with regards to Brexit FC, we were joking about this on this show probably 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. And I was quite adamantly against it. I said there's the press, especially around May and June, kept going on about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just wanting British players. And I said it at the time, like, look at Ruben Neves, he's not British. Look at Bernardo Silva, he's not British. Like, this obsession with British players. Fabinho's not British at Liverpool. Salah's not British. Firmino's not British. It's good to have a mix of British players, but the reason we needed to bring some British players in, because the current set of British players we've got are shit. Like, Phil Jones, Ashley Young, Lingard's not really been performing. So yeah, bringing one or two isn't good. But this whole, like, Daniel James is British, Wan-Bissaka's British, Harry Maguire's British, Sean Longstaff would be British. Was that what our transfer window was meant to be, and we just can't get Longstaff? Because if it was, I'm like, are we trying to do... Is Ollie obsessed with doing something that was relevant 20 years ago? Because actually the world's changed a lot, and most Premier League clubs, in fact all of them, are cosmopolitan. They're diverse. They've got people from all over the world playing here. And actually, when you look at United's recent history, who've been our better performers over the last 6 years? Most of them have been the foreign players. Like, Valencia was good at one time. De Gea's been Player of the Year for loads of times. Zlatan, Pogba was good last season. All right, Luke Shaw was British and he won Player of the Year. But, why have we become Brexit FC? Why is there an obsession with getting British players in? Because we've actually got a lot of British players already, by the way. They just don't play that well. But why are we actually closing our mind off to anybody outside the British Isles this summer? And if so, I just find that a little bit odd, because it's very blinkered, it's very stubborn, and it's very weird. I certainly, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Daniel James, very, very welcome at the football club. Fantastic signings, but a little sprinkling of a Bruno Fernandes and maybe a Thomas Partey or someone like that. There are options out there. And also, that makes me say as well, Bruno Fernandes is not the only option. He was never the only option. He was his priority for Manchester United, and for whatever reason they're moving away from that. There's plenty of options out there. I don't think there are with 3 days to go, though. I think we're struggling a little bit. But on Dybala, before I take another call, Maguire will be our leading goal scorer this season, says Joseph Woodbury. Interesting. On Dybala, I just want to say this, and a lot of people giving a lot of love to Bob's call there, which was actually fantastic. In fact, please do smash a like on the video when we have the call in on a Thursday night, because we've got a fantastic community here on the United Stand. We're live every night at 8 o'clock. We've got Transfer Daily every morning at 7 a.m. And then obviously we go live with any breaking news throughout the day and evening. But so please do smash a like on the video for the community, because it's not always easy to come on and have your first call in front of 10, 15,000 people. And support the community. We've got a really good one. Please do subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Bottom right hand corner, get involved. And Dybala. I just want to say about Dybala. I know it's off. I know a lot of people are saying it's off. All I'm going to give you is a hunch. I don't think the Dybala deal's off. I said it last night. I don't think the Dybala deal is off. Percentage-wise, I'm not going to say I'm 70% sure we're going to sign him or anything like that. I think, believe what you want to believe. But I don't think the Dybala deal's off. I don't. I think Inter Milan are now favourites to sign Lukaku with straight money. But Juventus want Lukaku. And Juventus tend to get what they want. And do Juventus want Dybala? I don't think they do. And will Dybala suddenly realise that, actually, I'm not going to have a good season at Juventus, whereas at United I can go there with my mate Paul Pogba and build my career again? I just got a funny feeling the Dybala deal's not off. And I've also got a very cynical feeling the Dybala deal was never off. I think if I was working in marketing, which I have done before, if you put out, like they did last night, Manchester United, through your little outlets, United, Dybala deal's off and Bruno Fernandes deal is off. Double whammy for the fans. They're gutted. They moan for a couple of days, but then on Wednesday, the Dybala deal's back on. Everyone forgets we need a midfielder. We're getting Dybala again. Well, at least we've got Dybala. At least we've done something. And everyone forgets the midfield. So I've just got a funny feeling the Dybala deal's still going to happen and we won't get a midfielder. But to me, I'll still be moaning on Friday saying I still think it's a disgrace that we've not sorted the midfield out. Mark, could you save a ticket till you find out if his wheelchair access, please, says Jacob Hurley. I will definitely make sure that there is a ticket saved for you, Jacob. No problem at all. 16,000 people watching, says Paul Clayton. Amazing United Stand family. We have got a fantastic community and every one of you are part of that. So thanks everybody who's watching. Let's take another call because that's what the show's meant to be all about. And I was hoping this person would be waiting. Let's see what they've got to say. Hello, Edward Woodout. Can you hear me?
Hello, Mark.
How you doing? All right?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. You sound a little bit young to be Ed Woodward out, but that doesn't mean you can't be. But go on, tell us what you're feeling at the moment.
Just the fact that the transfer window and the owners, I just have a feeling that the Ollie might outlive the owners if we don't make any more transfers.
You think? Well, I'll tell you what. I would like to see that happen, but a lot of people are scared that if Ollie doesn't get the transfers, then he'll be gone by Christmas.
Yeah, and I think we all need to back him because it's not his fault. He has a good brand of football, and he's played well in pre-season, except that AC Milan game, which was Matic, static Matic, as you like to call him.
I do, yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be hard to make more transfers because look at us. Like if we don't sign Bruno or Dybala, like who are we really going for? We don't really have anyone, and how slow we are at like deals and everything.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to ask you a question, but I'll tell you what. Just to come back on that, the thing that I'm really tired with is that I feel that there's so much repetition. It's like you're meant to be excited about the start of a season, and I totally agree with you. It's not Ollie's fault. You've got to back him. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we pretty much know we're in for another struggle as a season at Manchester United, and that's what I'm angry about. I suppose.
Yeah, same. I've been watching like the show for the last while, like a year I think, and then I've been watching. I haven't missed a Man United match since 2014, so I've watched it, and it's just been like, it's like the first month, like the first couple of months as the new manager comes in, it's normally okay, but then it just dips the season after. That's what I fear with Ollie, but I don't think so this time round.
Final question then: where do you think we're going to finish next season? I know you don't know who we're going to sign yet.
Yeah.
All right, you can give me two then. If we don't sign anybody else, where do you think we're going to finish? If we do sign, let's say Bruno, where do you think we'll finish?
Yeah, I think we'll finish 4th if we sign Bruno, and 5th in the Europa League 1.
Oh, well,
yeah. Would I be able to shout out my YouTube channel here?
Yeah.
If you don't mind, could you sub to TFK Esports?
TFK Esports?
Yeah.
What do you do on there?
Just like we make football videos, like a game of videos, we talk like some videos, like some streams I'm playing a game, and I talk about like Man United.
All right.
I just like mention you saying I'd watch the United stand.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Well, thanks for calling in, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Cheers, pal. Lovely caller, but it makes me laugh because when it said Ed Woodward out on it, I was like, oh, there's going to be somebody coming in, rah, rah, rah. And just shows, don't judge a book by its cover. You never, ever should. I think Manchester United are in for Longstaff and Dybala, says Kazmi TV. I mean, I've had my opinion on Longstaff, and my opinion is this. Even if we bring Longstaff in, right, I'll be happy because it's a midfielder. But I still think it's the wrong midfielder. I mean, why is a player who's played 9 games for Newcastle when he's 22 the answer to our midfield? Again, I just feel like, as I said, with the whole Brexit FC, everybody's British, this constant talk of a rebuild, I think they're rebuilding too big. I think they're like, oh, it's a massive rebuild. It's going to take 10 years. Nah, there are managers out there who've walked into clubs and had them being competitive in the first season. And I think we're being sold a little bit, oh, this is a massive job. It's a massive job. And they're all sat there counting the coins in the boardroom going, just keep feeding out, it's a massive job. I've got money to count. And actually, it is a massive job, but it's not so big that we need to write off 3 seasons. Like, there can be significant progress in each year. I don't expect a title in the next 3 years, but I quite fancied United to be fighting for 3rd this season, and at the moment I don't. The next season we maybe could have been fighting for 2nd, a little bit of a title charge, and in the 3rd season I expected to be fighting for a title, maybe not winning it. But the way the board are acting and the way we're being sold at the moment, it's like, yeah, you ain't getting anywhere near 5th for, you're not getting anywhere near 2nd for 5 years. This is a big rebuild. Sean Longstaff's got a bloody 30 games, 40 games, then he gets decent, and it's like, do you not realise like the Manchester United are a big club with a big name, and you could go and buy Thomas Partey, you could go and buy Bruno Fernandes, you could go and buy 4 or 5 other top quality midfielders that would walk to Manchester United from wherever they are in Europe and play in our midfield and be ready now. They just don't seem to have got the mix right. It all seems to be about potential, when actually 1 or 2 players that were of top quality should have been brought in, especially in that midfield. Ryan FTW, no point having two ball-playing centre-backs when the midfield won't be able to control the balls played into them in order to continue the build-up play. Very good point from Ryan there. Nick P says, there's no way this is it. Rom's going to whether it's now or next month. It's suicide not to replace him. No Rashi cover is terminal. The only thing I would say that about Nick is, and a lot of people keep saying this, a lot of people keep saying, well, let's go and buy. If we sell Lukaku, we're going to go and buy a striker. I think you're forgetting something. I think you're forgetting something very significant, and that is the Chilean dog walking piano player. Like, Alexis Sanchez is still at our club, and he still will be at our club, and he still will be the most expensive paid player in Premier League history, and he'll still be at Manchester United. He is not going to be ignored. He is going to play games. And we are, with regards to Alexis Sanchez, we basically need a miracle. We need a miracle. We need him to find his form of Arsenal 3 years ago, when I don't think it can happen. Because he's going to be starting games. He's going to be on the bench. He will be on the bench at the expense of people like Gomez and Greenwood, and he will be involved. So Lukaku being sold and not replaced is not as out there as I think some people want to believe. Because Alexis Sanchez, although we've happily ignored him for most of the summer because he's been playing in the Copa America, he is still there and he still will be used. And the worst thing about Alexis Sanchez is we paid him so much ridiculous money to come to our club. I've always said it absolutely terrifies me what's actually in his contract. You know, like when you sign a player on FIFA or Football Manager and it's like you're a crucial first team player. Those things are in those games because they're in real life contracts. And there has always been a running joke that it's got to be in Alexis Sanchez's contract that he plays off the left wing. And people joke about it, but it probably could be true. He'll certainly have things like, if he's fit, he's got to be on the bench at least, etc., etc. And that's the chain round United's neck as well. So Lukaku going, he may not be replaced. Let's take some comments. Akshay Sood says, outrageous amount of... No, we've done that one. Daniel Clark, would Dybala be the answer in this window, or would Fernandes in the midfield be the priority? Unlikely we'd get both at this point, in my opinion. Fernandes is the priority because he's a midfielder. Daniel Brindley says, Metro Sport just saying Ericsson's close. You can wipe your arse on that, mate. There's no way this is it. We've done that. That Bruno ship has sunk. Really hoped you'd be right, says Daniel Brereton. Look, we'll find out on Thursday whether I was right or wrong. What the point is, I was right. Manchester United were heavily in for him, and for some reason, something somewhere has gone really wrong with that. But, you know, I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to make excuses. United, for a long time, have been in for Bruno Fernandes, and I think it's about money. I think it's about money like it was with Perisic. Bio 2-0, we need one centre midfielder and one CDM and one right winger after Maguire. Yeah, 3 players. We probably won't get one. Jacob Hurley, yeah, done that one. City signed Rodri for 65 million as Fernandinho's replacement in 2 years, says Dean Doty. City are also buying Cancelo. Like, City have spent nearly as much as us, and we're meant to be closing a gap on them. Pogba, Fred and Scott with Andreas as backup, says Surab Dinshaw. Not good enough. It's not good enough, mate. That is not good enough, because what you're doing there is you're not taking account into injuries. You're not taking into account Matic will play. You're not taking into account that Fred's been a flop so far. You're not taking into account that Scott McTominay's not the finished article and neither's Andres Pereira, and both of them could flop. You are going into the season on a whim. And that's not what Manchester United should do, like the previous caller said. Chloe Jenkins, I'm amused by the multiple comments saying buy Ericsson. United wouldn't pay the 63 million for Bruno. Spurs want 130 million to so get real, guys. Jonas Anderson, if we win the Europa League, is top 4 that important? But if you can't get top 4, what makes you think you can win the Europa League? There are good teams in the Europa League. Danny Lockwood, do you think if the United stand was a thing back then, we'd be saying exactly the same about the transfer window for the class of 92? No, I don't. And this is what old school top Reds like to say. Some of them will say, oh, imagine if YouTube had been around in 95, 96 when the class of 92 came in and we sold Hughes and Cantona and Kanchelskis and Ince. No, it wouldn't have been the same, because that team had Roy Keane in it. It had Cantona in it. It had Peter Schmeichel in it. It had Steve Bruce in it. It had Dennis Irwin in it. It was a winning team with very good players in it. And yeah, people were a little bit like, oh shit, we're playing youngsters, but it was nowhere near as bad as what United are now. Like, you'd have been really really negative to start being negative about that side, because there was quality there. Like, we haven't got quality in our team. Consistent quality, anyway. Jeff Christensen says the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are an NFL laughingstock. That is the direction they are taking us. The warning signs have been there. Mr. Glenn Johnson, we need a centre midfielder or two, but team stability comes from the back. See what Van Dijk did to Liverpool, and you can't say that their midfield is perfect. I've heard this before. Like, are people trying to tell me that our midfield is as good as Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, Wijnaldum, Keita? Oh, come on, have a laugh. H. Sud says outrageous price to pay for a centre-back. Pricey. Mark, Chelsea and Lampard could win their first trophy in their first week, the Super Cup. I feel this would put pressure on Ollie, and their squad is better. Milverton Richards, if we don't sign midfielders, we'll overlook the defence and they will end up either injured or frustrated. Mark, is there any truth in the Ericsson to transfer to United? Says Zati Singh. We'll have to see. I don't really have much confidence in that. It's time. Okay, we signed a quality centre-back and a right-back and a young winger, yet I'm still frustrated with this transfer window, says Ryan. Shows the horrible state our club is really in. Warwick Burton says to be sung to the Spider-Man theme tune. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, get the ball past him if you can. Fast as fuck, in he slides, wins the ball, off he glides. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. It could work, it could work. How are we going to go into season talking about players having potential? So that was the one I liked from Sean Turn. Thank you. Why don't we... okay, we've done all that. Let's go back to the live show. So, look, we started the show with the line coming out from Manchester United that we would not be signing any more players. And this is coming from James Cooper on Sky Sports. So, if that is to be the case, then I'm concerned. I'm really concerned. And I think we have a right to be concerned. I hope that Manchester United will change their tact. I hope that Manchester United will sign more players, but as things stand at the moment, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, bottom right hand corner. Smash a like on the video, everybody. We've got over 14,000 people watching, so please do smash a like on the video. Support the callers who've been on. I think we're going to have to do more call-ins, aren't we, because the show flies by. But remember what I said as well. You can get United Stand gear in the video description if you're interested in that. But more importantly, we have got our live United Stand road show in London on Thursday night after the transfer window closes. If you want to be there, we have still got tickets available. The link is in the video description for that. It starts at 7 o'clock on Thursday night, right the way through till midnight. We're doing live shows, Q&As, got a bit of live music. Flex is going to be doing a bit of DJing. So the link's in the video description for that. You can get yourself a ticket and do come down, because it's just going to all be United Standard people. So look, if you're not talking to me, you're not listening to me and Flex and rants, you can all be talking amongst yourself. It's going to be I'm really excited about it. United Stand first ever get together. All like-minded people, all part of this community, all talking United. So yeah, looking forward to it. Link in the video description for that. Andrew Chow says, Mark, this window is another disgrace. The hope is gone. And I think I just want to say that right at the end. I love this club. Somebody said on the show, if you're so fed up with what's going to happen this season, just don't watch us. I can't do that. That's not what supporting a football club's all about. You don't stop watching your club because it's frustrating. I've spoke to United fans who were fans in the early 80s, well, throughout the 80s, 70s, when United were nowhere near titles. You don't stop watching because you love the club. That's what it's all about. You don't stop watching. But it doesn't mean you can't have a moan when we are, this is meant to be an exciting time. I think back to like when I was in my teens and a kid and 20s and stuff, and I'd be like, a new season. The summer's over. It's a new season. I can't wait. 9 more months of football. Bring it on, match of the day. You'll even watch Everton versus Crystal Palace because you're just hungry and excited. I don't feel excited about this season, and I didn't feel excited about last season because Mourinho zapped the positivity from us. I don't think Ollie's done that. I think he's trying to be positive, but I think we're all too long in the tooth to fall into the trap of this positivity, because we all know that he's kept mainly the same players from last year, and that midfield is weak, and the front three are inconsistent. I'm not confident about this season at the moment, and what would have given me hope was the board demonstrating that they're backing this manager and investing in the midfield and the attack, and they haven't done that. They've invested heavily in the defence, but there's a disparity there. There's an imbalance. It doesn't matter how good your defence is if your midfield and your attack isn't good, and that's what frustrates me. Is I feel we're going into this season And I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got the chance he should have. I think all I wanted to do was go into the season with a fighting chance. A fighting chance to be optimistic and positive. And I don't feel optimistic and positive. I don't. I think we've made some strides, but not all the strides we needed to. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope I am. Anyway, if you want to see more of me, I'm actually going to go and guest on Anfield Agenda now, which is another YouTube channel, which I think is kicking off in about 3 minutes' time. So if you want to come over and see me on a Liverpool channel, I don't know why they want me on, but I've said I will go on. Anfield Agenda, type it into the video description. I think their live comments is probably already open, and I'm going to be over there talking whatever they want me to talk about. I don't know. So I shall see you on there. If not, we might be live a little bit later if there's some breaking news around 10:30. 7 a.m. tomorrow, Transfer Daily, and the usual content if anything breaks. So thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like, subscribe, and really appreciate it. The joke. Iron Singh says the ship has officially sunk like the Titanic in Majorca. The Titanic didn't sink in Majorca; it sunk off the coast of America. But history. And Johnny B. Goodwin says 4-4-2 would work. Fullbacks overlapping runs. Sanchez, Rashford front. McTominay or new midfielder and Pogba in the centre. Sanchez can be great number 10 if chance. People still believing in Sanchez because you have to, because they've not done anything about it. Speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching. All right.